Hey, how's it going? My name is Josh Fox. We're going to be talking today about the Airman Certification Standards, which is the ACS. There's 12 sections in the private pilot ACS. Today we're going to go over section 1. I'm going to kind of give you my thoughts. Also, I'm going to go over kind of my experience, what I would have done differently, different study tactics. That's all going to be at the end. Like I said, we're going to be talking about section 1. Section 1 is the pre-flight preparation. Yeah, so the first subsection is going to be pre-flight qualifications, and that's going to be everything from your age to the medical certificates you're going to need, all that kind of stuff you've been going over with your instructor. Second section is going to be aircraft worthiness. So that's going to be everything like your aviates, your arrows. Again, you're going to be needing to look over all that stuff. They're going to be asking you that on the Checkride for sure. Yeah, so the next section is going to be your weather information. That's going to be stuff like lapse rate, dew point, fog. Make sure you know what a thunderstorm is, know the different stages of a thunderstorm. All those things are going to be asked by your instructor, most definitely. The next step is going to be your cross-country flight planning. This is where you're going to fill out a flight log. You're going to go over, when you actually do the check ride, you're going to go over step by step your flight log, make sure you're hitting your waypoints. I would go over this 2 to 3 times before you actually sit down with your DP. I would also sit down, write it out, and then also sit down with your flight instructor so they can give you some pointers, before you actually sit down with your DP and have your official flight log. The next subsection is going to be National Airspace System. So this is where you're going to be talking about, A, B, C, E, G, all the different airspaces. You're going to need to know kind of what your minimums are, what equipment you're going to need to go into each different airspace. This is going to be hit heavily when you talk about your sectional chart. So make sure you know this before you sit down with your DP. Yeah, so the next subsection is going to be performance and limitations. So this is going to be stuff in the POH. Most likely this is going to be your V speeds. They're going to be talking about the V speeds of the aircraft, your stall speed. So make sure you know those. I don't remember them hitting too heavily on this, but the stuff that's in your POH, make sure that you brush up on the performance aspect of your aircraft so that you know the aircraft that you're going to be testing on. Yeah, so the next subsection is going to be operational systems. So this is going to be stuff like your engine system, your fuel system, your vacuum system, your electronic system. So this is stuff that you're going to need to follow up on. I think I got asked once or twice to draw the diagram. If you want to be safe, be sure you can draw the diagrams of all the systems. I would focus heavily on the engine, I would focus heavily on electrical, and I would focus heavily on fuel. But also know the other ones that are associated with that. The next subsection is going to be human factors. So this is going to be your aeromedical stuff. Again, brush up on this. They touched on this a little bit. They didn't hit it too heavy, but it depends on your DP. Ask your instructor, figure out what some of the major questions are your DP likes to ask. If he likes to hit on aeromedical, make sure you touch on that. And the final section is water and seaplane. If you're not flying water or seaplane, don't worry about this section. All right, so the tips and tricks, if you made this far, that's awesome. Here's some tips and tricks that I would recommend. So, a lot of things that I did early on, which was like rereading stuff, highlighting, that's really inefficient. So if you want to kind of learn about how to study better for this type of stuff, a book I recommend is called Make It Stick. Also, testing yourself instead of rereading and highlighting, testing yourself. So testing yourself, one of the ways is kind of generating your own questions. As you're reading and learning some of this stuff for the first time, start thinking about questions that you can write yourself. So normally you'll take a flight, and then after your flight, you'll debrief with your instructor. During that time, I'd have a notepad and start not necessarily asking him questions, but obviously if you have questions, ask him. But I'm talking about asking yourself questions for later on that you can study for you can study for the oral, and so you can study for the practical check ride. So again, when you do those things, that'll give you the opportunity to test yourself later on, instead of just rereading and highlighting. I'm gonna link a study down below so you guys can look at that and look at the inefficiencies of rereading and highlighting as compared to testing yourself, drawing out diagrams, and writing out questions. I'm an instrument pilot right now, and I just did my instrument check ride, and that was one of the things that I mean, my oral I breezed through because of the way that I asked myself questions throughout the course. I'll link, like I said, I'll link that down below. Yeah, so last but not least, if you haven't looked at the ACS before you're meeting with your DP, you're doing it wrong. I'll leave a link for the ACS, for the private pilot ACS, in the description. My name is Josh Fox. I hope you have, this is the end of the video. I hope you have a great day. And until next time, stay safe out there.